Hi friend. In today's pick a card, we are asking Spirit for some advice on how to move on. So whether you're trying to move on from a difficult situation, whether you're trying to move on from a job, whether you're trying to move on from feeling stuck, a specific person, the remnants of a specific person, if you're trying to move on from pretty much anything, we are going to try and get you some advice on how to move on. So I have prepared 3 groups. I've pulled out 3 different decks and I'm gonna cut them and show you what the deck looks like so you can get a feel for that. Otherwise, you're also free to choose via crystal. So we have 3 crystals with these groups. So let me show you. Group 1, we have this amethyst point, which actually matches my nails perfectly, not planned. And then this is your deck for group 1. We have the page of coins shown out. This is kind of like an Art Nouveau style deck. That is group 1. For group 2, this is a green moonstone point. If it will focus, there we go. And then this is your deck. Let's cut it. We have the 5 of Cups, and this is the Tarot of 1001 Nights. Also very old school imagery. That is for group 2. And then group 3, this is a peach moonstone point. And let's cut the deck for you. We got the 9 of coins. This is lovely illustrations that are based around fairy tales and folklore. Okay, so these are our 3 groups. I'm going to give you a moment to zone in, zone out, whatever helps you, to choose which group is calling you the most. I don't know why I'm trying so hard to fix them. It's not going to happen. Before I let you zone in, zone out, let me just remind you, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I would love nothing more. You can do that. Linked below, you will find my website. You can only book through my website. I will never solicit readings via DMs on any platform. So just be aware of that. And yeah, I will meet you at your reading. Timestamps will be in the description below. Hi group 1, this is your reading if you chose the amethyst point. I'm going to set this right down. I'm going to set this down right here. Mercury is retrograde and it's messing with my words a little bit. But we will be able to get through this. One thing that I've noticed as soon as I started recording, like even the intro, is that I felt called to kind of like subdue my energy a little bit. So I would like for you to take a deep breath and kind of do the same with me. Try and calm down, try and come down a little bit. I feel there's definitely a need for us to kind of take a beat and recognize that as you are listening to this right now, as you are watching this right now, there's nothing else that you need to do. There's nothing else there. There might be some things that you should be doing instead, but as you are taking the time to engage with this reading, there's nothing else you need to do. So let's just kind of relax our our posture. Maybe your jaw is a little bit clenched. Maybe drink some water. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of tension that could be kind of released at a physical level right in this moment. So take a deep breath, and then we're going to get right into your reading. Okay, so for group 1, let's talk about how can group 1 move on. And there's a specific spread that I have in mind that we're going to go through for this. I will take it as it came out. So this is the Knight of Coins in reverse is your energy right now. Okay. I will kind of leave that the way it came out. It feels significant. How can group 1 move on? We have the 9 of Cups. Oh, interesting. We have the 5 of Wands. We have the Ace of Cups. We have the 7 of Wands. And then one last card for your energy. Nice. We got the Ace of Wands. Okay. 5 of Swords is at the bottom of the deck. This feels very much okay. Okay, I'm getting a story. So we're asking, how can you move on? And this feels like it might actually have to do with a specific person, some kind of conflict that we're trying to move on from. Here's the thing. I think that right now you're in a place where you cannot see the benefit of the situation, and you kind of almost refuse to even try to see the benefit, because it feels like something was unfair, something was unjust, something was, you just didn't get justice, you didn't get your fair share in some capacity. The way to move on through this energy is to recognize that what matters is your judgment. What matters is how you treat yourself. You cannot control how other people treat you, but falling in line with the treatment that you receive from other people, it kind of enables that. And so what I'm seeing here is that in order for you to move on from this feeling, there is a need for you to somehow face a certain confrontation and to stand up for yourself. I think there's some aspect to you where you feel, again, you're feeling like this wasn't right, but I also feel like you're very hesitant in actually voicing your discontent. I think you're hesitant in causing a scene. You don't want to be that person, it seems like. I think you're very uncomfortable when all eyes are on you in a situation of conflict, which of course anyone would be uncomfortable in that kind of situation. But there's something that you keep coming back to, something that you're ruminating over, because you're like, I don't like the way that ended. I don't like the way that fell out. That's why you're not capable of moving on so far, because there's still a chapter left in that story. And that chapter has to do with you standing up for yourself, even if it doesn't change the outcome. It's about standing up for yourself and knowing I did right by me. And I, at least, even if, other people didn't stand up for me when they probably should have, at least I stood up for myself. And it is going to make you feel a little bit like the world is against you, but at the same time, you're actually going to receive like some energetic push from that with this Ace of Wands. Like, you're really going to feel like you know what, this is not as bad as I thought. Like, I can actually take this on. I can manage this kind of conflict. The conflict in my mind was what much worse, but the high that I'm getting from actually supporting myself, standing up for myself, and honoring myself with this Ace of Cups, the high that I'm receiving from that, the confidence boost that I'm getting from that is actually worth it. That is incredible. And so I want to point out that this Knight of Coins is in the reverse, but then we're going from, because that is your energy, this is kind of the journey of trying to move on, and then this is your energy afterwards, this Ace of Wands. It's like, it's confidence. And we're going from this, like, I don't know if I can do it because it's in the reverse. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if I should even bother. It goes from that to, I now know how to stand up for myself because I know that I'm worth it. And that's the thing, you already knew that. I like that we have the Nine of Cups here because it's like there's a certain element of pride in this. But it's not so much that you're driven only by a negative sense of pride, because we have the Six of Pentacles here that came out sideways, which indicates that something is out of whack, like something is unbalanced, it's not fully reversed, so it feels like it could be corrected. For some of you, I'm getting this might be some kind of confrontation that you need to make with some kind of legal ramifications. So whether that is, I just got to say what I'm hearing, because at least for one person, I feel like that might be true. Whether that has to do with like unemployment benefits or something like that. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting, where it's like you're not getting your fair share of some kind of benefits, and it's like I'm already uncomfortable, even though there shouldn't be any. There is stigma, but there shouldn't be any stigma about receiving unemployment support. But it feels like I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person that says, hey, I should be getting more. I don't want to be that person that causes a scene when I'm already receiving handouts. But actually, you know that you are supposed to be receiving more. And so then this is the conflict of speaking up and being like, hey, I did the numbers and I'm pretty sure this is wrong. I'm pretty sure I didn't receive this or that. And then because you spoke up, it gets rectified and you do receive what you're supposed to. But not just that, you're actually then kind of fired up to be like, wow, I should speak up for myself more often. And it really kind of like ignites something. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on just the first spread because I have a lot of oracle cards that I want to pull. So let's get some dice on this energy. We have the 11th house. This could very much have to do with friendships, social networks, stuff like that. This could even be some kind of conflict that you're facing via social network, like via social media. That's the word I'm looking for. We have the 11th house, we have the North Node, and we have Cancer. Okay, so this is a lesson in utilizing your emotions. This is a lesson in not suppressing your emotions, but actually speaking up for yourself when it comes to larger group settings. So the way to move on, because the thing is that I feel like the energy, if we don't push through this moment of conflict, because I feel like there already was some kind of conflict, and you probably try to appease it. You try to just kind of like dampen it. You try to mediate in a way where you actually didn't. You were like over mediating. So you actually weren't doing yourself any favors. You're looking out for other people or the other parties involved, but not looking out for yourself. And that's why you're having a difficult time moving on from this. So whether this was a conflict within a friend group, the way to move on from this is to address your needs, which is expressing like, hey, I don't like the way that that played out. Hey, I feel like I didn't really get to share my point of view. I really didn't get to, like, actually facing that confrontation that you probably avoided previously. At which point we also have to acknowledge, like, it was stupid. I should have said something in the moment, but I just wasn't ready. Now I'm ready and I need to talk about it so that I can feel like I'm actually like letting this go, so I can actually move on from this. I do feel like with the Seven of Wands, it might upset some people. Having stuff, especially because we're in Mercury retrograde right now, it might feel like this is something that's coming up for you that other people I thought we put this to bed. I thought this is done. Like, why are you bringing this up again? It could upset some people, but this is a lesson in you standing up for yourself. Okay, let's get some oracle cards. And if you don't push through this now, I really feel that this energy is just kind of gonna linger with you, and it's just gonna build, and then it's like you're the one carrying this around with you, and it's just gonna get heavier. And when things, especially in friendships, when things get heavier and the other person isn't aware of it, it becomes more difficult for you to actually show up as a friend, right? So communication is really kind of key. And it's on your mind a lot, which is why we have the Five of Swords at the bottom of the deck. We have intention. Lacking personal direction begets confusion in life as a pawn to someone else's game of chess. So what I like about this is that it kind of connects to this idea of, if you don't speak up for yourself, what happens is that other people make decisions for you. Other people choose your direction. And with this North Node energy, it's really important that you focus on what do I want? What do I need? Am I getting my needs met? Because if I'm not, I can't expect everyone else to know what my needs are, first of all, but also if I'm not, then it is my responsibility to speak up and make sure that I am. At the bottom of the deck is sharing. There is giving and receiving and giving. And I think this is really important, because I think at some point during this conflict, you thought that you were doing other people a favor, or that you're doing the situation justice by letting something go. But you're not capable of actually letting it go, because it hasn't actually been addressed. And so there is giving and receiving and giving is really important when we think about the fact that sometimes people aren't aware of the things that are actually bothering us. My aunt always tells me the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And that means that we need to speak up. When we need our needs met, we need to speak up. And I find it really interesting because there's really not a lot of air cards out aside from the Five of Swords at the bottom of the deck over here. We have a lot of fire, which indicates to me that this is actually something that if you do not let it out, this could really kind of come out as anger and you blowing up at someone if you don't let it out when it needs to come out. For group one, give me one oracle card. We have ground yourself. Interesting. I think this ground yourself kind of connects to what I was talking at the beginning of the reading, like the need to kind of like take a beat, take a moment. And again, because we have a lot of wands here, and the Five of Wands is about your needs and your desires kind of being all over the place. The Seven of Wands is being like, you know what, I made my mind up and now I can like start making sense of things, right? And the Ace of Wands is being in total control. of that. And again, the wands can very much represent anger. And in this case, with this storyline, it might even represent resentment, because we do, it's very easy to fall into a trap of resentment when people don't acknowledge us to our full range of needs. But again, I do feel like this is something where it's like it needs to be known first. It needs to be announced before it can actually be addressed. Oh, look at this, patience. This is interesting because I do feel that you probably think that you've employed a lot of patience in this situation. Boundaries is at the bottom of the deck. This is kind of frustrating. I can feel it. I can feel how frustrating this is, because you believe you've employed a lot of patience in this matter already. But there's a difference in patience and avoidance. Ouch, that hurt. But there is a difference between patience and avoidance. And I think what you've done so far is kind of avoid it and kind of suppress it. And so if it's now coming up again and people are like, I thought we had addressed this, what is the issue here? You are going to need some patience, and you're going to need to communicate with people in a way that that asks patience of them. You know, like I said, there is something where it's like, how do we move on? We move on by taking control of this anger and letting it out in a controlled manner. But there is, don't judge yourself if it comes out in kind of like an explosive manner at some point, because what's happening in that case is your ego stepping up to defend yourself, because you haven't done so far. With that Five of Wands, I see that happening very likely. That could be conflict between you and another party, but that can also be a conflict that is internal between you and yourself of, I want to keep the peace. I want nothing more but to keep the peace because I don't want people to be angry at me, versus the side of you that is like, but I need to have people know this. I need this addressed. So that could be either or, which if it's internal, then it's, you need to have patience with yourself. If it's external, then you need to have patience and understand that the people that you're confronting weren't aware that this was an ongoing issue. Okay, let's get one of these. Oh, I said one. Let's try that again. I'm gonna reshuffle. Give me one of these for group one and how to move on. As I'm looking at this intentions card, I do also want to mention that I think your intentions, when you were in this state of kind of avoiding it, your intentions weren't bad. You wanted to keep the peace, but it's just that unfortunately the intention needs to be more, not unfortunately, the intention needs to be more on what actually helps you release these feelings. Look at that, we have creation. This green is the same as in this card, as well as here. This is kind of green, and we see some greens in here as well. Creation talks about co-creation, coming together. You can't necessarily create just on your own. Creation also requires patience. I feel that this creation card has a lot to do with with you coming into a certain expressive part of yourself, with you coming into being more comfortable nurturing yourself, being more comfortable standing up for yourself. Okay, now lastly, actually that's not true. I have two more things planned. I'm gonna get from this deck, because this is a little feisty deck. I want to get the best advice on how to push through this energy. Overall, how to move on is to address it, because I do feel like we've been avoiding it. And if you feel like, I just want to try and make this approachable for anyone. If you feel like this is a situation where it's like, this is lingering resentment, this is lingering anger, but you're not in a position where you're able to safely voice those things to the other party, even whether that's because there is no contact, or whether that's because this is a job you've left, there's no point, anything like that, there's still something to say about speaking your mind, even if it isn't to the party involved. So finding a way to stand up for yourself, that can also lead to artistic creation, artistic expression, whether that's writing, whether that's painting, music, anything like that. It's like living out loud an argument that you never had. That's what I just heard. You can do that through creative expression, living out loud an argument that you never had. You know how sometimes when you're trying to go to sleep and then out of nowhere you start a fake argument? That's normal, right? You start having like these fake arguments with people where it's like, this happened years ago, but I should have said this. We need to find an outlet for that, and to kind of funnel that into something that can really kind of help you take back your what am I trying to say? It's like taking back your power. Okay, Spirit, give me 3 cards. Last advice on how to move on. 3 cards, sum it all up. We have a 2 of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands again. The Ace of Wands, so creative expression is going to be really, really valuable to you, whether that's writing, whether that's, look at that. And then we have the 6 of Cups. This is about patience again, and showing yourself some compassion, so showing other people compassion, even though I feel like you've done that a lot in the past to a fault, probably. Being over compassionate towards other people and not yourself. But also the 2 of Pentacles is about seeing the duality in things, understanding that 2 truths can be valid at the same time. So understanding that A, we put this conflict to rest, and B, I'm still not over it. And A, speaking my mind might not change anything but how I feel about myself, and B, I'm gonna feel uncomfortable doing it. Like there's things that are equally valid. It's like it can be just as irritating for you to do this as it can be healing. But yeah, creative expression, because a lot of times I feel like, especially if this is something that happened a while back ago, you might feel like, oh, I don't want to dig through those emotions again and have them all come up because I'm writing a story, or because I'm writing a poem about it, or because I'm writing a song. Like, I don't want to have to go back to that place. But know that you are going back to that place from where you're at now, and not from where you experienced it. So this definitely has a lot to do with memories, facing certain memories and kind of getting them out of your system, for sure. Okay, now one last oracle card, and this one I read from the booklets. So let's see. For group 1, can we get one last oracle card for group? Oh, that was fast. We have Lullaby. Oh, that is definitely talking to me about memories already. Memories, and possibly your dreams might be very kind of exhausting at this time because this is something that we've been avoiding. Let's see, 38. It says lullaby, restoration, dreams, rhythms, lullaby. As dusk arrives, let me just make sure we're in focus here. There we go. As dusk arrives, we notice a cello player about to play a lullaby to welcome the sleep we need so dearly. The cycles of day and night, light and dark, orchestrate our natural sleep rhythms. We give so much during the day. Night is our time to recover. On his instrument, we can see the moon and stars. They are the guardians of our dreams tonight. Rest with nature's lullaby, blowing gently through the window. Tomorrow, wake to all the days of your life. There was one part, where did it go? The cycles of the day and night, light and dark, orchestrate our natural sleep rhythms. The idea that there is a time for conflict and there's a time for healing, and there is a time for you to experience whatever it is that you're trying to move on from right now. You experienced it, you processed it, and you might have a very delayed reaction to it. But that's still part of your process. So don't judge yourself for not having moved on from this, because it feels like it's very much part of your process. These rhythms, I'm also connecting that to this Cancer energy, because we have the waxing and waning, and it just seems like this was part of a rhythmic lesson for you that is leading you towards creative expression, but also just if you feel like you're not creatively inclined, also just finding a way to stand up for yourself and finding a way to ignite that fire to really be kind of I'm looking for a word. Like defensive, but not in a negative word. Like self-defensive in a positive way where you're self-protective. I think that's what I meant. Okay? I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this resonated. I hope that it helps you move forward through this energy. I think you're absolutely capable of it. It's part of your lesson. And it's what we're really trying to do here is get you to a place where you already know with this Nine of Cups. You already know that you're worth more. And it's just the acting upon that of being like, you know what? I deserve to speak up for myself, and I should, because no one else is going to do it. Unfortunately. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi Group 2, this is your reading if you chose the green moonstone. We're going to set that down up here, and then we're going to get right into your reading. So we are trying to get some advice from Spirit on how to move on from whatever situation that seems to be weighing on you at this time. So how to move on, Spirit, let's talk about it. So this first card out is going to be your energy at this time. Oh, okay. These cards are very, very sleek. So Spirit finds a way to get the card it wants. So there's the Three of Swords. Ouch, that makes sense. That makes sense. If we're asking how to move on, pain makes sense. Grief. Okay, so how can we move on from this energy? How can we move through this energy? Because it's not something that we can just leave behind. This is something that we're likely going to take with us for a while. But how can we move through this energy? We have the Page of Swords. How can we move on? We have the Four of Wands. And we have the Nine of Pentacles. I like this. We have the Wheel. Wow, this feels very existential, I can't lie. This feels very existential. Yeah, we have the Two of Cups, and then let's get one card for your energy at the end of this. One card for your energy. Look at that, we have the Five of Swords. Wow, this is beautiful. This is beautiful in a very heartbreaking way, to be honest. At the bottom of the deck is the Seven of Pentacles, yes. Okay, this is beautiful in a heartbreaking way because it feels like, this feels like the essence of life. Like, this is what being alive feels like in a lot of ways. Let me get into it. So we're starting off with the Three of Swords. Now this can be many things. This could be something that is really, really earth-shattering to you. This could also be something that is in the history, like in the complete big picture of your life, something that is very painful right now, but in the big picture of your life is just a blip. It's very possible. This could be something major. This could be something that is major at this time. That's the thing. Like, in either case, it feels major right now. In the big picture, it could still be major, or it could be something where it's like, oh yeah, that was a thing that I experienced once. In any case, it's heartache, it's pain, and it's grief. And in order to move on from this is loss. And it's not necessarily, it can very much be the physical loss of another person. It can be the metaphorical loss of another person, meaning, you know, you lost a friend, the friendship ended, or a relationship ended. But this could also be the loss of a former version of yourself. And that can be honestly quite devastating as well, because when we lose an old self, it kind of forms so much of our understanding of ourselves and the world and how we react. And when I do this, my friend does that. That's usually how it goes, right? And then when we change, I do this and my friend suddenly doesn't do that. My friend reacts differently because I'm different, right? So it can be very devastating to lose a former version of yourself that for a very long time kept you safe and comfortable. There's something that you're learning in moving through this. There's something that you're learning about human connection and human compassion. And it's really giving you a lot of insight, I think, into who you are in relation to your family, who you are, what your values are, especially with this Nine of Pentacles. Here's what I'm seeing. The way to move through this heartache, this loss, and I know this is like a slap in the face to anyone that is like in the midst of it, but the way to move through this is to look at and focus on all the beauty that is still around you and that will always be around you. The beauty that you find in human connection, the beauty that you find in family love, the beauty that you find in nature, the things that are just that will not ever perish because they're forever. Love, connection, the world, yes, we're definitely doing a number on this planet, but the world will recover. Once humans are gone, this planet will be fine. And Mother Nature will take care of her baby. And there's just like this ethereal beauty to life that comes with lots and lots of pain at the same time, because you can't have one without the other. I'm hearing Bittersweet Symphony by, oh my goodness, what is the band? What is I know this song. This song is part of my DNA. Now I can't think of the Verve. The Verve. Is that right? I think so. The verb, bittersweet symphony. Because it's a bittersweet symphony, this life. Try to make ends meet, get some money, then you die. Okay, let me not get stuck on that too much though. So how to move forward through this? Spend some time, if you feel like you're not in a position to actually interact with the world because you feel too raw and too vulnerable, spend some time observing. People watching is really going to kind of restore something in you. And whether that's people watching through through television and movies, or I think even better is going to be actual human interactions, watching people outside, going to a park, going somewhere public where you can see, there's just something very romantic about how humans interact, how strangers interact out in public spaces. Of course, I'm not trying to over-romanticize this world. I know it can be rough and people act up out there, but that's exactly it though. This energy, I can feel it. Like every time that I try to focus on like the positive, I feel your energy going back to, yeah, but and I get it. I totally get it. But there is a lesson here in understanding the cycles of life with this wheel of fortune. There is an understanding of, after summer we have to have fall, and we cannot avoid winter if we want spring to come back, because it's necessary. Decomposition and regeneration go hand in hand with this wheel card. And then we have the Two of Cups. And I like this Two of Cups because to me this indicates that you will reach a point where you're kind of flirting with your surroundings again, where you're flirting with nature, where you're flirting, where you go from being an observer to being a participant again. And it's interesting because we end off on the Five of Swords, which tells me that this doesn't mean that you're just going to... Okay, let me put this way. This entire spread isn't saying, oh, just go out and distract yourself and then you'll forget this ever happened. You're not going to forget this. The Five of Swords is about having faced a difficult situation and walking away with scars, but you're walking away. You were not defeated. You're able to walk away. You might have a couple cuts and bruises, but you're walking away from it and you're wiser for it. You have learned some lessons. There's a red cardinal that was just outside my window. They're out there quite frequently, but this one came up like right to my window. So this is really about understanding that bittersweet symphony, understanding that you have to take the bitter with the sweet. That's another song coming up. You have to take the bitter with the sweet. Wow, let me roll some dice. So the way to move through this, I really like this Nine of Pentacles here because it does indicate to me that there's going to be a time where you're going to kind of indulge, but it's going to come after a time of you kind of creating stability first. This feels like a very healthy progression because we're going from like, I don't know if I'm ready yet to re-engage to, let me simplify this, okay? Let's say that this is the loss of a relationship. In that case, this arc is telling me that the way to move on from the loss of this relationship is to inch towards experiencing love again. And the way that we do that is going to be by first observing, thinking about what went wrong here, spending some time digesting what happened, what went wrong, what have I learned, who am I now? How am I different from before this happened? Before I had this experience, these multiple experiences. Who was I then? Who am I now? How am I showing up in relationships from here on out? This could also have to do with getting information, getting insight from friends. How are their relationships going? How have they dealt with breakups in the past? Stuff like that. So this is very much like gathering information of where am I at, just kind of taking a look around. It's quite literally that, because sometimes the loss of a relationship, the loss of a person, it can be very disorienting. So this point right here is taking a look around. And then from there, we know, okay, I've taken a look around, I know where I'm at now, I know who I am, I know, and then it's like we take the first steps, and we take the first steps in the comfort of what we know is safe. So that is spending time with family, because the thing is, when we lose a person, when we lose a relationship, a lot of times we feel like we lost our anchor. We feel like we lost something that was very vital to who we are and how we show up. And so this point in your journey is all about understanding that you have other points of direction that are still there. You were just disoriented for a moment and you kind of lost sight of those. But you still have friends, family, loved ones, passions, interests that can ground you in a way where you're like, okay, wait, I know where I'm at. Okay, I can stabilize myself, I can ground myself, I can come down. And then this 9 of Pentacles is all about enjoying that again. And reconnecting with people that you haven't connected with in a while, reconnecting with aspects of yourself, reconnecting with things that bring you joy. And the fact that it's a 9 of Pentacles and not just like a 6 of Pentacles. A 6 of Pentacles would feel more like, oh, people are kind of having to take care of you a little bit. The 9 of Pentacles is like, you're going to bloom, you're going to blossom and want to enjoy things. You're going to splurge, you're going to get a makeover, you're going to go out and have dinner with friends or by yourself. You're going to really enjoy. And the thing is that you will know that you deserve to splurge on yourself because you have put in a lot of work already. Because otherwise you wouldn't have made it to a 9 of Pentacles. So there's a lot of groundwork that you're laying here. And then with this Wheel of Fortune, there comes this perspective of, oh wow, okay, I'm doing really well right now. I'm having a lot of fun, but sometimes at night, I still think about that pain, or even during the daytime, or I hear a specific song, I still think about that pain. And that's when it's like a beautiful moment in a movie where the protagonist is like, had their low moment, had their high moment, and then they're riding on the subway and they're looking out and they, like when the subway is overground, not underground, when it's like overground and they see like the skyline of the city that they live in, and it's just like this acknowledgement of like, wow, life is so immense. Honestly, it's making me emotional. This is beautiful. And then with that comes this connection again. And that's what we're missing in the beginning here, is like there's a disconnect. This is making me so emotional right now. Wow. But with this 2 of Cups is like we feel connected to people, to the soul of the city that you live in, or just the idea of hope. And if we relate this back to if we lost someone in a relationship, then this would be connecting with someone who reignites that hope for you. And it doesn't have to mean that they are the one. Maybe in some cases, but for most of you, it's just going to be like, I'm hopeful again. And that's why with this 5 of Swords, it's like, we still have scars from this, but they've healed because we knew that there was no other way to move on than to move forward. This is such a beautiful spread. And with this, like with this imagery too, this deck, it's so beautiful. And also, I just want to point out that I feel like you need a good cry. Like this made me so emotional, this part right here, and I'm like, okay, I really don't need to cry, but I kind of feel like I want to cry because it's so beautiful, but it's also so sad. Like I really have a desire to cry right now. So I feel like you might need a good cry. Anyways, what I'm trying to point out is that this is green moonstone, which is really, really good for heart chakra healing. Okay, now let me roll these damn dice. Okay, we have the sixth house. Oof. We have Gemini and we have Jupiter. I love this. Okay, the sixth house. Okay. This is so beautiful. I wish this was a movie. This feels like a movie, but that's because, you know, when a movie is like a good drama movie is like, wow, yeah, that really captures like all of life. Like the highs, the lows, the beauty, the ugly. Like there's just so much that is, all of it is life. And that's what this spread is doing to me. The sixth house is the house of daily routines. It is the house of acts of service. It is the house of your health. It is the house of your like job, but it's more like your day-to-day kind of things. And so that's what I think is really beautiful in this part of the spread, because there's a reconnecting with small things. There's a reconnecting of romanticizing your daily life and not having these grand expectations of like, oh, I'm in pain, so this huge thing has to happen. Like I need to go to India and eat, pray, love myself, right? Like there's this false idea that we get of like, I need to do something really drastic to heal. But sometimes healing takes place in just the smallest things that we do on a daily basis. And so there's something about the sixth house that gets overlooked a lot because it's just menial. It's just, you know, the things that you do every day. And it's like the things you do every day amount to your life. The things that you do every day decide how you feel every day. They impact how you move through your day. So there's again, there's like this immense energy that is being put into something very small and very I keep hearing menial, but I don't think that that's the right word. It feels more like, I don't know, I can't get it. But then this Gemini energy and this Jupiter energy, both of those energies represent learning. Jupiter, big picture, and Gemini, a very analytical energy, and also the duality of it all, right? Gemini is the twin, so it is the duality of being sad and happy and having experienced both and learning about it. And yeah, Jupiter is that big picture energy. Oh, this is such a beautiful reading. Oh my goodness. But I know, it probably doesn't feel like beauty to you. It does at this point in time where you're like, how do I move on from this? It does not feel beautiful whatsoever. And that's how like those beautiful dramas are often really kind of like, people will say like, wow, that was a beautiful movie. And then the movie was like completely traumatizing, right? That's how this feels. Also, I do want to say that because I'm calling it beautiful and all these things, and I just want to say that if this is the loss of a person in a very physical way, meaning if somebody that you love dearly has passed away, I'm so sorry for your loss, but this is you discovering that oh, this is gonna make me cry. This is you discovering that you're still alive. And that you're only able to feel this pain because you are still alive and that you did not die with this person. And it's really going to hurt for a long time. And it will probably always hurt with this Five of Swords. But again, there is this feeling of like, but I'm surviving. It hurts, but I'm surviving and I can still appreciate how beautiful the world is. My goodness. I did not expect all of this. Give me a card for group 2. Thank you. Show self-respect. That sounds kind of harsh. That sounds kind of harsh, but the immediate imagery that I got was that you are worthy of taking care of yourself. Develop stronger concentration was at the bottom of the deck. Develop stronger concentration. And this especially if this 3 of Swords in any capacity is making you feel, if it shows up as depression. I'm not here to diagnose anyone, and please understand that there are different versions of depression. You know, you can be quite depressed after losing someone. Why did that sound weird? But then of course there's also clinical depression where it's like you can't just tell yourself, oh, life is beautiful, and then it goes away. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to minimize anyone's medical conditions. So please just be aware and understand how this applies. But what I am getting is that with this show self-respect, I know it sounds kind of harsh, and it kind of, to me, the energy of this is almost like hearing like the clinging of a blade. Like it's just very harsh. But there is something about that of show some respect in terms of show your body some respect is coming up. Like taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, and also something about like you may in this area of the spread feel like it's safer for you and for other people to stay away from others. And it's just like, I don't know, I just get the sense that you might, in this part of the spread, might be treating yourself in ways that you wouldn't treat anyone else. You wouldn't treat your friends that way. You wouldn't treat anyone that you love that way. And that you're being really harsh and kind of calling in this idea of like, I deserved to experience this. I deserve this pain. And that's not true. Just because an experience is unavoidable doesn't mean that it was deserved. And one card for group 2, please, on how to move on. Look at that. We have inner integration, which I think is a beautiful card for exactly what I've been talking about. Inner integration is about learning life's lessons over time. This isn't just something that, like I said, this isn't just something that's gonna go away. This is a life lesson, a understanding of how life in itself has seasons and has lessons that we have to experience because they're absolutely unavoidable, because everyone has to go through these. There is peace, equilibrium, and fulfillment in integrating the inner wild with the taming and tempering effect life has on us. When I'm thinking of the inner wild and the taming, tempering effect, it's kind of like when you put like crystals, when you put them in like rock tumblers, you know, they get sanded down, they get grinded? Oh my goodness, I don't know how to say it. Ground? They get ground down? I'm sure someone will tell me. But it's just, that is that tempering effect of life, where at some point when we're young, we might have more romantic expectations from life. We have more, in some ways, more naive expectations in life. And then we experience these things that really kind of, they break us, but they don't shatter us. It feels like at the point in time, but really what it is in the big picture is like it's a chip. You know, as painful as it is, it's likely a chip. But there is something to say about, you know, this kind of cycle happening over and over again. These are all the same person at different stages throughout her life. And it's just the kind of pain that is unavoidable. Okay, let's see. Let's get another oracle card on how to move through this for group 2. How to move on for group 2. Ooh, we've got resistance. At the bottom of the deck we have change. Change is unavoidable. This is interesting though, because typically I read this card as, oh, you're resisting and you're not supposed to be resisting. I'm not reading it this way in this case. In this case, it almost feels like, because it goes nicely with the 5 of Swords, it almost feels like you should see beauty in your resistance to not letting life break you. We're resisting the breaking down. I'm hearing from, this is specifically from Handmaid's Tale, don't let the bastards grind you down. I think that's what it says, right? Don't let the bastards grind you down. And that's what I'm getting from this energy of like, you are made to resist. You are made to survive. It's part of life. It's part of the cycle. Because I asked, how do we move on? And we got resistance. And I want to say this, and I want to be very careful in how I word this, but I know that this might come up for someone. Resist the urge to give up. Resist the urge to give up. And if this is for you, then I think you know exactly what I mean. I know it feels like fighting, surviving is exhausting, but there is an ask for you to resist the urge to give up. Because there will be a time where the wheel turns and where you will feel joy again and you will feel love again. And that doesn't mean that you won't experience that pain again, and that doesn't mean that that pain will be completely eradicated. But you will experience joy and love and happiness again. There's room for both. Unfortunately. Fortunately, actually, but still, and depends on how you look at it, right? But there's room for both. There's room for beauty, and there's room for pain. Give me an oracle card for group 2. Look at that, we have health. Again, this is coming up. This is coming up with the 6th house, with show self-respect. That you really, I'm really urging you to take care of yourself, physically and mentally. Along with this, okay, I kind of want to, this is not going to apply for everyone, but I kind of want to add a layer of, if this 3 of Swords is some kind of heartbreak and some kind of pain, because it's actual physical pain, like if you actually have a physical ailment, have some kind of illness, that is really dealing with you, that is, I don't know, that you're dealing with, that is really doing a number on you, is what I was trying to say. This still kind of applies in the same way, because this is a stage of doing research. What are my options? Where am I? Relying on your support system, your family, and then making the best of what you have. Making the best, enjoying yourself, because understanding that is something like, people who deal with chronic pain understand the beauty of life in a whole different way than people who don't. So there's something about enjoying life being a form of resistance. And in understanding that with this wheel of fortune, it does feel like there's a turn, or I don't know if it's a turn in acceptance or a turn in your health. But there is something with this Two of Cups. The Two of Cups does in the traditional deck have the symbol of medicine on it too. Again, I feel like this is definitely something that we're overcoming. I'm not trying to make any promises for anyone here, but this is something that we're overcoming with battle scars, but we are overcoming it. So please be aware. Just be aware of that. Okay, I'm gonna get three. This reading got kind of long. I'm gonna get three last tarot cards to get a straightforward answer. Try and get a very straightforward answer to answer a question, even though we already have, but still this deck is pretty feisty, so I kind of wanted to see what it has to say to all of this. So let's see, for group 2, can we get a straightforward answer on how to move on from this situation? How to move on. We have the Ten of Pentacles and we have the Ace of Cups. I love that. Understanding all that you've been given. And then we have the Page of Cups. Understand all that you have been given. This is all about gratitude, and I know that can be really difficult when we're coming from a perspective of the Three of Swords. Understand and appreciate all that you have been given, and know that none of that compares to the experience of love by people that love us and people that we love, like acting out love and receiving love. None of the material things can compare to that. And finding joy in little things, also having fun, like just this Page of Cups is cheeky. This Page of Cups is like finds joy in a lot of ways, in humor, in flirting, what we had in this Two of Cups, and in new experiences. Yeah, that's how we move on, is understanding all that we've been given that has blessed us so far, understanding that none of the material compares to the experience of love and taking care of ourselves and trying to have fun, trying to see the romantic side of life, trying to see that the glass is half full. And I know that's a struggle sometimes. Okay, one last card. I'm going to read this one from the booklet. For group 2, one last oracle card. We have Weaving Flowers. That's a beautiful card. Let's see. We have 33. Creator, art of the universe, integration, which this card said inner integration. Okay. It says, here we see a woman gathering the delicate petals of blossoms and making them into flowers. It seems like she is weaving them together, bringing a greater whole into being. She is calm and concentrated on her work. This woman is a creator. She draws from the petals falling from the sky and growing from earth. Inspiration is all around. Gather it up to create a new whole. That is so much about seeing the big picture and taking inspiration from all of your experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and really understanding how it all weaves together in the fabric of life. That sounds so corny, but I'm sorry, it had to come out. Wow, what an incredible reading. I wish this was a movie that I could watch, but also it would be really hard to watch. You know, some movies where it's like, wow, this is such an incredible movie, but it's like I can only watch it once because it will destroy me if I watch it again. That's how this feels. This is very existential. This is very much life lessons, something that you will come back to. This is not something that you can just, let me read a self-help book and then I'll be over it. This is something that you will come back to again and again throughout life. and it will meet you again, and you will be stronger each time you face it. Wow. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really hope that it resonated, and I hope it gave you some direction and some solace. And I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi Group 3, this is your reading if you chose the Peach Moonstone point. We're going to set this up here, and then we're going to get right into your reading. So we are asking Spirit for some advice on how to move on. The bar has been set, quite honestly. The last reading was intense, so I'm very interested to see how Group 3 goes. So let's see what comes out. For Group 3, first card that is coming out is going to be your energy at this point in time. For Group 3, let's talk about how to move on. Oh, we have the Wheel of Fortune. She's a wild card. Anything goes. What are we trying to move on from? That's interesting. That's an interesting start. Because it feels like I'm literally hearing round and round she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. Whatever situation you're trying to move on from, it feels like you don't even, I don't know if you've made your mind up. Because it almost feels like maybe one day you feel this way, next day you feel another. And almost in a way where it's like, I'm sick and tired of thinking about how I feel about this. So how about, universe, you tell me. You send me a clear sign. Tell me how I'm feeling. It's very much like, I'm done. No fucks left to give. But at the same time, it feels very frustrating because it's like, there's possibly no movement, and it's like, hello, I'm waiting. I'm almost getting the sense of like, you know what? You're strapped into a roller coaster. You know when it goes up the hill, it goes, and then it just sits there, and you're like, hello, is there like at this point, I either want off or I want to go. Like, I don't care, but I need something to happen. Ooh, a lot of attitude. I don't blame you whatsoever, but it's interesting. Okay, we got the Ace of Cups. Interesting. So could definitely have to do with a love situation. Doesn't have to. We'll see. We'll get some more context. Oof. You have had it. And I think rightfully so. I think rightfully so. You are about to climb out of your seat and be like, let me push the button. If nobody else is capable of pushing the button, I'll push the button. What is happening? Interesting. Okay, one last card for your energy at the end of this. Yes, I like this. Okay, so we have the Sun card. Taking decisive action. At the bottom of the deck is Temperance. Oh, this is so interesting. At the bottom of the deck is Temperance, and this honestly kind of feels like... You know when in movies where, I don't know, this is such a specific thing. I can't even think of any movie where this happens, but I know it happens, where it's like a certain character wants another character to do something, and so they use like reverse psychology, or they just kind of like trick them into doing the thing that they didn't want to do. For some reason, I'm thinking of maybe Dead Poet Society, like, because I'm picturing like Robin Williams teaching someone a lesson, through a way where it could also be Goodwill Hunting, through a way where the student doesn't realize that they're learning a lesson and they think they're being defiant, but in reality they're following exactly the rules of the lesson. That's what I'm getting with this Temperance card, because it feels like Spirit is like, and that is exactly what we expected you to do. But you, I think, are really fed up with something. And you are like, okay, obviously we're asking, how can you move on from this? How can you move on from this stagnant energy? Look at the fact that this is the Wheel of Fortune, right? But in this imagery, he is actually attached to a spider web, which could make you feel like you're stuck and you can't move, right? However, the highest point in this spread is a Chariot card. And in this deck in particular, the Chariot, because typically the Chariot is very much like movement is not yet happening, but we have made up our minds. But in this spread, in this deck, this card is in movement. So in order for you to move on, there is a requirement of decisive action. And I think in the beginning it happens out of spite, but then towards the end it happens in a more positive way. It happens more in a way of you being like, this is what makes sense, this is the direction that I should be taking. But at first, to get you going, there's almost like a little bit of a false promise. A false promise of, oh, you're just going to this level. And then you get going and then you realize, oh, shit, there's all this other stuff that I need to do. Or all this other like stuff that I need to address. But then by that time, it's like, oh, well, I already started, so it's not that big of a deal. It's very interesting. It's very interesting because I'm sensing a lot of attitude from you. Which honestly, I cannot lie, after that last reading is a little bit refreshing, because the last reading was very, it was just very heavy. And this feels more, it just feels different, because I feel a lot of annoyance. I feel like a lot of, this feels like I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it my way. And then you do it, and it's exactly the way that Spirit wanted you to do it. Because they want you to do it your way. So, back to what does this mean if you are feeling stuck somewhere? I think it's interesting that this Ace of Cups is the first card out. Because this Ace of Cups, in between you feeling stuck and you being like, I've had it, I need to make a change, something needs to happen. In between those things, we have love. Ace of Cups is very often love for yourself, dedication to yourself, taking care of your own needs and being like, I need to focus on me. So wherever you're feeling stuck right now might be a lack thereof. It might be that you're being asked to take care of other people's cups more so than your own, or you just feel like you're in a position where nobody is filling my cup. There's no attention towards my cup. It's like the energy of being in a restaurant and your water glass is empty and the waiter just keeps walking by you and you're trying to get their attention and you're just like, oh my God, are you serious? Like just getting really irritated because your cup should be full. Like you should, like, where's the bus boy? Where's the water boy? It just feels very, I do have to say it feels irritated, but not necessarily in an entitled way. Not necessarily. And I say that because there is still a like layer of expectation in something to happen. Like I said, like sitting in that roller coaster and being like, who the heck is operating this? Like there's just this strong annoyance of who is in control. And I think Spirit is just like, they have their hands off the button because they're just like, shall we wait till they figure out that they are in control? Because I think that's quite frankly the case. You are, and I'm not here to minimize anything, but you're feeling stuck in something, in an old situation or in life or memories. You're feeling stuck with something. And the only thing that's keeping you stuck is you. Oof, that's a bitter pill. That's a bitter pill. And that's probably why you're so irritated. Trust me, I know the feeling. The Seven of Swords is a card of self-sabotage. But I think it's interesting that we go from the Seven of Swords to the Six of Coins quite quickly. Because I think once we start this movement, we recognize all the ways that we have been keeping ourselves stuck. All the ways where we have been dropping the ball. And then once we recognize that, that's when we're like, oh, okay, I got this. And it turns quite quickly, which is why we go from the Six of Coins to the Sun and from the Wheel of Fortune to the Sun card, because it's like, oh, right, I got it. And I mean, this is, both of these are taking control, but this is very much like taking control and being like, I don't know, the vibe here is just angrier with the context of these cards. And going from that to the Six of Coins with the Sun card, it just feels like, all right, I like got control of it and I know how to work it now. You know what I'm also getting? I swear, I'm not trying to laugh at you because what makes me laugh is that I can really identify with this a lot. And that's why what I'm about to say makes me laugh, because personally, I am absolutely not good with video games. I'm really bad at video games. I didn't grow up with a console. I like strategy computer games. That's about it. And a few years ago when I was living with a roommate who was all into video games, like he had the Xbox and would want to play, and we would play, I don't know, one of those fighter games, and I'm like, I literally just push buttons. And then I would get so mad because I'm like, it's not doing it. Like, what am I doing? Because I was so confused. But that was because I didn't know what I was doing. And yet I would get so irritated. And that's what I'm getting here, is like this irritation that you get from being like, this computer game is so stupid. Like, this controller is so stupid. This is so stupid. And it's like, okay, but actually the issue is that I have not sat down to actually understand, how does this game work? What button do I have to push to move forward? What button do I have to push to kick, to roundhouse kick? What do I have to do in order to make progress in this game? And that's this irritation that I'm feeling. Like, it's almost this irritation of like, why isn't this easier? Why isn't this working on its own? Why aren't things just unfolding for me? And again, I don't want to make it sound like entitlement, but it is expectation. And expectation comes from somewhere, right? And it may have come from, especially with this Ace of Cups, it may have come from you being somewhat sheltered in a capacity where, you know, like whether that was your parents or really just things in life kind of worked out for you. And I'm not trying to make it sound like everything's been peachy and sunflowers and butterflies in your entire life. But when it comes to this particular aspect that you're trying to move on from, this part where you're feeling stuck, to me, honestly, more so than any of the other readings, this feels a lot like stagnancy in life and not necessarily one particular situation. It just feels like you feel like everything is against you. And in reality, what it is that there's a lot of energies like zooming around all of us. And you are in the process of figuring out how to harness all of that. You're on your way. You're on your way. It's just kind of cute because you're irritated about it. And I don't mean to minimize any experience, but what makes me like chuckle about it is because I recognize this energy because I know that I've been there. It's just that, you know, when I don't get my way with technology, especially with technology, because technology isn't, like, I have all the patience in the world for my cat, right? Like, if he doesn't understand what I'm trying to have him do, I understand that. He's a living being. But technology was technically designed to work, right? So I have a really short temper with technology. And so when we feel like, hey, this is specifically designed for me, this is designed to operate in a way that's easy, why isn't it working? That's the frustration that I'm getting here. Which again, it has to do with expectation. Ooh, we got the 12th house. This might be some shadow work. Might be some shadow work that's a little necessary. The 12th house is the house where we put the things that we don't want to deal with. We hide stuff away. I always call it the attic of our chart. Then we have Aries energy, which is that irritation. Aries is like this energy of like, I'm just gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it fit. I'm gonna make it. It's cardinal energy. It's short temper, and Jupiter energy is all about learning big picture concepts. This is a very, very annoying lesson for you. Very annoying. I'm sorry, I really don't mean to laugh. It's just, maybe that's actually something that's kind of necessary, especially with the 6 of coins and the sun. Like maybe we're being forced to kind of see the humor in things. Especially, oh my God, it's Mercury retrograde. So especially because I keep talking about technology, there are so many times where I just get such a short fuse with technology, and it's so aggravating in the moment. But then once it's all fixed and figured out, afterwards you can see the humor in it, right? Afterwards you're like, okay, maybe I overreacted. Okay, maybe I just needed a Snickers, right? But again, I think that's maybe something that's necessary in order for us to move through it. But at the same time, your temper is also necessary, because your temper is what lights your fuse. Because otherwise you'd be sitting there and still just being like, well, this is annoying. Oh, well, it's okay. I'll just wait. And no movement would be happening. Your temper is this Aries energy is actually very integral because it lights a fuse. It lights something up that sparks movement. And in that movement, brings you to a point where you can recognize, oh, now that I am in movement, I can see all the ways that I wasn't moving previously. And I can recognize, oh, I just needed to do this and this and this. And it actually wasn't, I shouldn't have just like waited around for someone else to do it. I was meant to do this and this and this. And then that's when you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can have more patience now, and I can kind of make sense more of things. And you might even get to a point with the 6 of coins where you're actually able to share more with other people and be like, oh, so this is what I did. And then people are like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's awesome. And you kind of get like, you get this feedback that really kind of energizes you and then puts you in a much more positive outlook. And the whole time Spirit is like, yep, that's exactly how we planned it. Probably just taking credit for all your hard work, right? I don't know why this reading is making me chuckle so much. Let's get some oracle cards. Okay, let's talk about it. For group 3, how do we move on? Focus on higher truths. Ooh, I feel like focus on higher truths is very much about understanding like who or what's in charge, which is in a lot of ways you. Of course, there are things that are out of our control and we need to surrender to those. But for the most part, when we're feeling stagnant, it's because we're not moving. Yes, there are limitations set upon us by very real systems in this world. But there are still ways where a lot of times we let that stop us. In more ways, that's what oppression does, right? It makes you believe that there is no way out, that there's very real systems of oppressions. There are very real systems of oppression that focus so much on controlling the belief that things are not within your control. And that's the problem. Like there are very real limitations, but there are also very real freedoms that get distorted. I hope that made sense, because I'm not here to get into like political discussions, but that just kind of came up with this focus on higher truths, because again, this has a lot to do with autonomy. This whole spread has a lot to do with autonomy, and you recognizing your autonomy, recognizing the freedom to take action and to move on. And for where you're at, I don't feel like there's like, it doesn't feel energetically like there's an emotional attachment to I can't move on. It just feels like, well, I shouldn't quite say that, because we are seeing some self-sabotage, and there's a reason for that. I don't know, there's just like some distorted idea of how things should progress or how you should move on. And that distorted idea has a lot to do with you receiving, or you just kind of not doing it on your own, especially with that 12th house energy, because 12th house is where we do things alone. And that's the thing, like this whole spread comes down to you having to decide, that fuse burning out and being like, okay, and now I will not take it anymore. I'm not waiting for anyone else to do this for me. I'm doing it myself. And then realizing like, oh, I had the freedom to do that this whole time. Interesting. We have women supporting women. Together we can transcend our individual limitations. That is a 22. What I'm feeling with that is that a lot of that anger, and we also had the Queen of Swords here, right? I'm trying to make this fit in a way where it's more gender neutral, but I am feeling a lot of this because of what I spoke about with this focus on higher truths. I think there might be, when I was talking about like the systems of oppression, there might be a lot of anger and frustration that you're feeling around oppressive systems put in place by law on you and other people like you. And what I mean by that in particular with this card is the anger around reproductive rights, for sure. But it also transcends gender in a lot of ways, because women supporting women is also just like feminine energy supporting feminine energy, and we all have masculine and feminine energy. And there is such a like can-do attitude that evolves within this spread that then is about helping others with the Six of Coins. The image that I'm getting is, which is propaganda, but that girl, oh my goodness, I know her name, but that propaganda poster of like, we can do it, where the, what's her name, Betty, is it Betty Bomber? No, is it? I don't know. But where she has like a strong arm, right? And she's like, we can do it, which was about motivating women to join the workforce. But that's the attitude that I'm getting of like, I'm sick and tired of being stuck, so I can do it, we can do it. And again, when this doesn't have to apply just to women, it's about feminine energy. And feminine energy is oftentimes portrayed as feminine energy just receives. Oh, I'm getting so much from it now, okay. Feminine energy is about receiving, and masculine energy goes out and does, right? So this could be that you've been fed some kind of storyline of, if you want to be a divine feminine, then you have to just sit pretty and wait till things come to you. And that is not true. That is a very toxic narrative around divine feminines and divine masculines. We are all divine, and despite how we identify, we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. So you are divine feminine and you are divine masculine. So if you have found yourself in a place where you've been told, well, as a divine feminine, you shouldn't go out and ask for what you want, this is you learning that's bullshit. And that truly supporting your feminine energy means supporting and demanding even that your needs be met, and that you free yourself from whatever is holding you hostage here with that spider web. This is really fascinating. I don't know how this is going to resonate with people, but this is really fascinating because it does feel like a very angry feminine energy overall. That's what I kept getting with this Queen of Swords too. So angry. Let's get some more cards and see what comes out. But again, there is something here about not letting that oppression, not letting that anger take away from any of your joy, because like there's still community and love and joy to be experienced at the same time as anger. Together we can transcend our individual limitations. Also want to point out that this might have to do with actually seeking support, actively seeking, especially with the Six of Coins here, actively deciding, and I'm not putting up with these limitations anymore because I've been self-sabotaging myself, by not seeking support, by not asking for help, by not receiving some form of support. And then that actually being able to motivate you to move into a better direction. Because just love alone cannot sustain you. Like, you do need resources. And this is about some community resource. Okay, give me a card for it. Thank you. Look at that. We have abundance. This is a wild card. This whole reading is a wild card. That was the first thing I said. So interesting. And again, a very feminine image here. Abundance. We have this woman with all these forest animals. The hunter moon, which I believe is like close to harvest. Recognizing how much there is around us. And again, I'm just being called to look at like the fact that we have the Ace of Cups here and we have the Six of Coins here. It feels like something that you're trying to move on from is the fact that you lack certain things. Like you have the emotional aspects covered. It's like you have love, you have people that love you, or you love people, both, hopefully. You have certain aspects covered for yourself, and perhaps because you're in a position where it's like, okay, I'm taken care of, perhaps because of that, you're recognizing, you're kind of angry because you're recognizing not everyone within your community is taken care of the way that you are taken care of, and it makes you feel helpless and angry. And then you recognize in ways where you've been self-sabotaging, again, where we've been neglecting to reach out to help others because we've been so focused on our kind of world, possibly even our inner world, like addressing things. Now this sun is giving me like social justice vibes. Very interesting. This is such a fascinating reading. I definitely feel it's not going to resonate for a lot of people, but whoever this does resonate for, you are a badass, because you are fed up and you're ready to do something about it. You're not just ready, you're doing something about it. You're so fed up. Honestly, this is honest. I wish this would be true for like everyone who gets this reading. But honestly, I could see someone going into politics here. Absolutely. And it doesn't have to mean you're gonna run for president, but on a local level. On a local level, getting involved. This is so cool. Okay, anyways, let's get 3 tarot cards on direct advice on how to move forward, how to move on. Interesting. The prompt is how to move on, but it's interesting that I said how to move forward, because it feels like you just want to move things forward, not just yourself. You want to move things forward, especially with this Aries energy. Like, it's just this understanding of like, if nobody's gonna do it, I will step up and I will do it. Big picture. Okay, how do we move on from this Wheel of Fortune energy? And I'm just doing this because this deck is pretty snappy, so I like to get its perspective on this in short form. Look at that, Empress energy, absolutely. Absolutely beautiful feminine energy that is ready to destroy whoever comes across her path. How do we move on? Knight of Swords. This is gathering information, doing research, learning things, gathering insight, especially with this owl here and this hawk. And one last card. How do we move on? Well, was that it? Yes. Ace of Pentacles. Fierce energy. How do we move on? Acknowledging our power, our innate power, and learning how to use it. You're learning how to wield your power and understanding that you hold that power, that there is so much potential in that. And along with the Sun card, you're going to lead with the Six of Coins right behind you. You're going to lead others in a certain direction. This is so cool. I think there's at least one person here that is really like socially involved, in the process of getting really socially involved because they're so fed up. And yet, at the same time, I want to point out again that the Temperance card here is indicating this was always going to be part of your journey. That you were meant to step into this power. That you were meant to be irritated to the point where you're like, this is not right. Okay, I'm getting one last card, and we're going to read this one from the booklet. For group 3, give me one last card. How to move on. Or just overall for this reading. Oh, we got 2 cards, and honestly, I'm going to have to read them both because I already know Lorelei is fitting. This is all about recognizing the power you hold. And then we're going to read Like a Bird as well. So you get 2 cards. Let's read Lorelei. Power, responsibility, fate, and grace. That's literally, that sums up the whole reading. There you go. Should have just pulled that card in the beginning. Power, responsibility, fate, and grace. A mermaid sits on a rock and gazes towards the ocean. A small ship floats nearby, connected with her through a rope. She has the power to decide the destiny of this ship and the fate of the crew, which the crew is probably a bunch of men, right? I'm just saying that I feel like this is someone here is female identifying going into politics, and you got my vote. With a flick of her wrist, she could toss the ship against the shore, or she could let it continue its journey. What will the mermaid decide to do? She has suffered great loss in her own life. Will she continue the cycle of pain, or will she allow healing and grace to calm the waters? Healing and grace. You are trying to bring healing and grace to a group, a community. You are trying. But I think there's a lot of red tape that is really, really irritating. And you probably, especially with this Ace of Cups, remember when I said this is, you may have been sheltered? That was probably like the expectation of like, oh, like our system does what it's supposed to do. Or the expectation of like, yeah, resources are going to the people that need them. And then realizing like that's not actually the case, unfortunately. And then we have Like a Bird. Focus, forward looking, possibilities, motivation. A woman full of expectations, exactly what I just said. A woman full of expectations looks into the future. There are no boundaries to what she can accomplish. Like the bird next to her who flies strong and direct, she knows now is the time for focused energy. You may have found yourself losing motivation lately or questioning your decisions. The key to recapturing your passion lies in readjusting your focus to unlock creativity. Surround yourself with activities or people who make you feel inspired. They can be the breath of wind under your wings. And that is that 6 of Coins, community. Understanding what you're doing it for, who you're doing it for. And that you're not just out for yourself. This is incredible. I was going to say, if this doesn't resonate, then you're probably not here anymore. So I don't even know that I need to try and make it fit for anyone else. But let's try another layer to this before I close it out. It doesn't necessarily have to be about politics. This can just be about finding your autonomy as a woman or as female identifying, finding your power, and even as a man, finding, if you identify as a man, finding that you do not have to suppress your feminine energy, that there is power within your feminine energy, and that there is a system that has tried to make you believe that is not the case, but that there is power in giving and sharing and caring for one another, and that can move us forward in a positive way. And again, this anger was necessary because it sparked a fuse of movement, because previously we felt like somebody's gonna fix it, right? Like there's something going on out there and we didn't want to take accountability for it. And that fuse has been lit by anger, rightfully so. And then it forced us to kind of take a look at, well, what is my role in all of this? And we may have recognized, okay, I haven't been acting in my best interest. I haven't been acting in society's best interest, and immediately adjusting that, which is amazing, and brings us towards positive forward movement. And it all centers around anger and transforming that into positive action through taking accountability. That's beautiful. Absolutely incredible. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really hope it resonated. I hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.